This is Menwith Hill Spy Base. It's being used by the US and on occasion by the UK for three specific activities. One is the surveillance of electronic communications, all forms of electronic communications through satellite technology and interception. The other form is for missile defense. It's part of the US missile defense system, which can be used to prevent retaliation from a nuclear first strike, and also used for giving information for drone strikes, illegal drone strikes.
The Menwith Hill Accountability Campaign is a small group which started about 5 or 6 years ago, and it takes over the action against the base, the idea of trying to make it accountable, from a long history of groups which have come up here and taken actions, processions, demonstrations, and this campaign started more or less in the 1980s. Menwith Hill Accountability Campaign does various things. So it organises demonstrations, it has a website, it organises newsletters and publications, and last year it was fortunate enough to get a grant to produce a report about the base. The base has had things written about it before, but the latest one was in 2012, and since that time there have been a lot of changes taken place, especially in the area of IT.
So it's been nearly 10 years since anyone really delved deeply into what's happening at Menwith Hill, and the public understanding of what's been going on there has rapidly changed, especially since the 2013 leaks by Edward Snowden and a lot of exposés by investigative journalists relying on Snowden's leaks, other exposés, and there have been other things like court cases since that really shine a light on what's been happening at the base and allow us to understand the nature of the programs there in a level of detail we've never been able to achieve before.
Every dome or radome contains a satellite dish, and those dishes are receiving information from satellites which are circling the Earth. Each golf ball is actually made of polyurethane foam, and that foam has two purposes. It stops weather getting at the satellite dishes and damaging them, and it also prevents people from outside the base being able to see which direction the satellite dishes are facing, and from that information could be gathered as to which satellite was being used. Radomes are still being built because the purpose of the base has changed slightly over the years. It went from intelligence gathering to missile defence, for example, and now to the use of drones.
Menwith Hill is one of a number of stations which is a global system for surveillance and monitoring of various information technologies. The data that's collected here is being used by the security agencies of the United States and of the United Kingdom, and it's used to track individuals and groups that they believe may be some kind of a threat or they are interested in for some reason or another. And also it has been used to target specific individuals such as politicians, those kind of people who may be of some concern to the governments of either of the UK or of the US. These are illegal activities which shouldn't take place. Other illegal activities such as tapping people's telephones, messages, without getting the required warrants have also occurred too. And also we don't know what information they're collecting, we don't know what kinds of information. We know they're capable of collecting all sorts of information. We don't know exactly what they're collecting, and we don't know really what happens to it afterwards. So it's very unaccountable. The unaccountability of this base is paramount, and it must really be challenged. What concerns many campaigners is that they also track, or they can also track, the movements and activities of individuals and groups who are actively trying to protest and demonstrate about the presence of some of the US bases in the UK.
The association of this base and the drones, which are frequently killing people in countries far away, whether it's the Yemen or Afghanistan, Somalia, these drones are operated on the basis of information collected right here behind me at Menwith Hill. We've got an increasing amount of evidence that the drones are targeted. Some of it comes from information that has been released from the Pentagon and in papers which are available online, papers which have been quoted in the report. We are pretty confident that drones are now increasingly targeted by metadata, by the information data that's collected from all sorts of places, pulled together, and the assumption is this is the person that we really want to get at, and the drones are then targeted onto that person. What's wrong with the use of drones? There's a lot wrong with it. One of the top things is that if we sent armed aeroplanes, planes that are piloted by a human being, Parliament has to know about it. We couldn't send troops into Iraq without Parliament discussing it. We can send unmanned drones into countries anywhere in the world without any reference, without any accountability. Drones are taking warfare into a new dimension.
We're told that this base makes us more secure because it can monitor terrorists and it can look at what our so-called enemies are doing. In actual fact, it makes us less secure because it's a target itself, and it's a target for anybody who wants to get at American activities that are carried out here, the spying activities, and so on, and the missile defence activities. People will realise that this is a first base for the United States in any time of war. So it makes us less secure, not more secure. The base has become much more security conscious, security in the way that they don't want people inside the base. So in order to make the base more secure, they put on these big security gates, they put barbed wire around, and they have cameras to spot anybody that's anywhere near the vicinity of the base, and regular patrols of the police as well. They try to make the base look as intimidating as possible to put people off of trying to ask questions or to get anywhere near it. So this tree here, for example, which was planted in memory of Bob Cryer, who was an MP who asked questions, difficult questions in Parliament about the activities on this base, but unfortunately was killed in a car accident. It was planted in his name, and it's now in danger of being destroyed or supposedly moved because they want to make this a much grander entrance to the base.
People want to read the report would say, great, this report is really worth reading. We'll tell you how to get hold of a copy on our website. We'd be delighted to make sure you get a copy either online or on paper. Read it, engage your brain, think about it, and then decide not what other people should do, but what do you do? We've all got a responsibility here. These drones, you and I are paying for them. You and I have to take some responsibility for the fact they exist and are being used to carry out extrajudicial executions on a regular basis.
We've been able to rely substantially on some of the original documents from within the NSA and GCHQ and reporting done by a lot of reputable news outlets based on those documents. Investigative journalists have really dug deeply into leaks that have come out and whistleblowers, Edward Snowden, but others as well. And on top of those, NGOs, human rights groups, civil liberties groups have also been taking legal cases over some of these revelations, and more still has come out in court.